I'm here with Mike O'Brien, VP of Corporate and Product Planning for Hyundai, and of course we're here to find out about Genesis. It's not every day that we discover a whole new brand.
It's true. So the Detroit Motor Show is our coming out party here in North America. We announced yesterday that we're going to be aggressively moving into the premium luxury space with a whole lineup of vehicles. So we launched yesterday the G90. The G90 competes with vehicles like the S-Class or the 7 Series. It's a very progressive car in terms of technology and capability. We're going to add G80, which will be renamed from the current Genesis sedan. We'll have 6 models total by 2020. That'll include a couple of CUVs, one more sedan, and of course a coupe-like product as well.
That's a lot of car building that you guys are going to be getting up to over the next few years.
It's true. It's a lot of R&D. We have a dedicated design team headed by Luke Dunkwalke, and then we have a dedicated engineering team also that'll be headed by Albert Bierman. So both of these teams will be working together on just this luxury line of vehicles. One thing that will really differentiate ourselves is that all of our vehicles will be front engine, rear drive architecture. And, you know, when you talk to customers, they don't know exactly what they see, but what they do know is when they see that push forward axle in the front, and they see that long distance between the windshield touchdown point and the axle, they know that that represents luxury to them. And that's what really a rear drive front engine architecture talks about, is that proportion with a really stretched wheelbase. And so all of these products will keep an FR, or front engine rear drive architecture, to make sure that the basic image of the product projects luxury.
Luxury, okay. Why now? Why 2016 to make this big announcement and to start this whole new brand?
Well, you remember in late 2008 we launched our first Genesis product. We've done very well with it. In terms of kit, you know, and spec, it was quite good. It had very good performance in terms of ride and handling, as well as a powertrain and technology. But it was really our schooling. It was our learning experience to learn really what's the nuance of luxury experience. And with the second generation Genesis we launched about 1.5 years ago, we really tried hard to make everything sing well together and to deliver a car that everything was well synchronized. And I think that was a big shift from the first generation to the second. And now with G90, we're trying to cement that along with our brand announcement, which means now we're committed to the second half of the premium experience. The first half is product. The second half is what happens after you buy the product. So remember, you know, average ownership cycle here is about 5.5 years. So what happens for the rest of the time after you take delivery of the car? How do we make that experience truly enjoyable and truly something that people can look forward to? And what we want to do above all else is prize our customers' time, to make sure when they have to do something with their car that we respect their time more than anything else. And we use things like valet service that we have with the current Equus that we'll have with the G90, which means that instead of the customer having to wait in line at a dealership in a service drive and schedule an appointment, we'll come and get the car, we'll provide them a free loaner car of approximately the same value, and then we'll come bring their car back to them and collect the loaner car back. They don't have to move from their workplace or their home space. It's all handled. They can do it through the touchscreen in the car, they could do it through their smartphone. There's many ways to get it done. In fact, the car can remind them when a service is available. We send monthly health reports and we remind them, and then we suggest an appointment for them. So we try and do this in a way that's very unobtrusive and respectful of the customer's time, and just knowing that the best experience is one where it involves the least hassle.
Got you. When it comes to making a luxury car like the G90 or the G80, how hard is it to get into that market? Where are we taking lessons from? I mean, there's obviously, are you looking at a business model from BMW or Audi or Mercedes? Where are you getting these lessons from? Because it's pretty big undertaking.
We've gone really outside the auto industry. Whether you look at luxurious travel and leisure activities, you look at other things like apparel, handbags, for example. There's a lot of space where you can look and study what do people want when they want a premium experience. And what we've learned is if you look at the current business model in the United States, there's this huge investment in brick and mortars, big facility, granite floors that are beautiful, and mahogany wood paneling, and just a wonderful facility. But when you think about it, the customer spends about 3 or 4 hours there, and then they own the car for 5.5 years after that. So how do we think about taking some of that money that's invested in the brick and mortar and spread it across that 5.5 year ownership cycle, so for all the time they have the vehicle, they have an experience that truly represents the kind of luxury they experience in other categories, whether it's, again, travel and leisure, or in some other industries like apparel, for example.
So are we talking about the materials that are used inside the cars? I can see that there's some wood grains in there.
We're talking about materials, we're talking about a penchant for utmost customer satisfaction. We're talking about, again, respecting the customer's time. We're talking about the ambiance of ownership, not only in the car, but outside the car.
As well. Okay. In the press conference yesterday, we were talking about options and the fact that, you know, a lot of other luxury automakers have got so many options and there's so many different ways of building out your car, but you were going with just a simple two options.
Two ways, and you know why? It's very simple. So when you think about satisfaction, there's two kinds of satisfactions in the purchase process. There's a satisfaction of shopping, meaning I can go on the internet, I can configure it exactly as I want. I got the color and the interior, I've got the spec that I want, I have the exterior, I have the panoramic sunroof, and I've spec'd it just the way I want it. The other half of purchase satisfaction is finding that vehicle.
Got you.
So we have to be very frank with ourselves and realize that our dealerships, our retail operations have limited ground space, right? And we have a culture of buying out of inventory. You know, our buyers typically don't order vehicles. And so the best a dealer can do is do a dealer trade perhaps. But basically they want the car within the next couple of days.
Absolutely.
So we have to think about how do we get a maximization of satisfaction and when they're configuring the car on the internet and the satisfaction of finding the car at their retailer. And I think for that reason, we've tried to think about how do we limit the combinations in a way that they get a balance of satisfaction on both sides.
Okay. When it comes to pricing structure, I mean, obviously there's been nothing that's been released yet with regards to price. When entering into a market like a luxury market and being a brand new brand, how hard is that? Is it going to be something where we're going to have to come in underneath, I guess, the competitors like your Audis, BMWs and Mercedes? Is it going to be a hard sell getting people to go, okay, I'm going to go with a Genesis here, and how do you separate that from being a Hyundai?
Well, firstly, I should mention that when we think about our inflow, you know, where do buyers come from, kind of the product planners meet when they're thinking about planning the vehicle, it's drastically changed from the first generation Genesis that we launched in 2008 versus the second generation that we launched a year and a half ago. You know, first generation, we really had what you might call an intercept strategy. We tried to catch the customer on their way to the BMW store, on the way to the Mercedes store, on their way to the Lexus store. We tried to catch them. Because frankly, once they got into that store and they could afford the car, they became a loyal buyer. So we had to catch them when they got that promotion or they got a new job, or they just had something triggered them to say, you know, I want to reward myself with a luxury vehicle. And so that was the first generation, is catching those customers before they got there. Second generation now, the car we've been selling for a year and a half is, we've been rewarded with a lot of cross-shopping, meaning people are looking at the E-Class, they're looking at our Genesis sedan, they're looking at the Equus, and they're looking at an S-Class. And so now, I think the product itself has kind of legitimized ourselves in terms of the market, and now it's all about the experience that we're focusing on. So I think the playing field is, we still have some work to do, there's no doubt about it, but I think we're in a much better position than we were in just a few years ago.
Fantastic. Before we go, just taking a look ahead, obviously we've got the 6 models coming out, there's a lot of work ahead for Genesis, but it is more of a future talk. Are we going to be relying on just gas-powered engines? Is there going to be work done in the hybrid sector at all? And will we see maybe even a subsidiary brand like an AMG type model at some point?
Yeah, two questions, two comments.
Questions.
One is just to review in the EPA fuel economy report, where all the manufacturers are ranked every year. This past year, we were ranked number 2 among all manufacturers in the U.S. Second behind Mazda. And so there's no doubt a huge emphasis by our R&D folks on fuel economy achievement and advanced technology that goes along with that. So I can tell you there will be alternative fuel powertrains on our luxury products.
Beautiful.
That's a fact. And I could also tell you on your second question, you may know that Albert Biermann's former career, he was over the M chassis development at BMW. And so we're very interested, and he's spoken quite a bit about our N brand, which is our performance label, and a lot of things that are coming under his tutelage from our R&D folks. So he's got his team of engineers working both on premium and on performance.
Beautiful.
So you're going to see a little of both from him.
I'm excited to see a performance Genesis out there as well. Thanks very much for taking the time, Mike.
Thank you.
If you want any more information about the show, just make sure you check us out at autoblog.com.